Today we're going to talk a bit about a very special pigeon breed, the Essenbach Cropper. Yes, a truly beautiful, elegant cropper that originates from Essenbach, a town in Lower Bavaria. The breed actually came about through the crossing of several other breeds, the Thuringian swallow, the Bronner, the Vorburg Shield Cropper, and the Norwich Cropper. Thanks to that combination, the Essenbach Cropper has gained its unique, almost classy appearance. When you see one for the first time, you'll probably think right away, wow, that's a beautiful, graceful, elegant cropper. It's a medium-sized pigeon with quite an upright posture. What really stands out is that swallow marking on its plumage. It just gives it such a refined, balanced look, you know. The head of the Essenbach Cropper is elongated, nicely arched, with a broad forehead. And yes, the head can be smooth, but there's also a version with that rounded shell crest that ideally ends in small rosettes. Looks really neat. The eyes are dark in color, and the eye rims are narrow, ranging from flesh-colored to red. Pretty subtle overall. The beak is of medium length, and its color depends a bit on the pigeon's color variety. In red and yellow birds, the beak is flesh-colored. In black, blue, and blue-checked birds, the upper beak is black. In ash-blue varieties, it's dark horn-colored, and in ash-red and ash-yellow birds, it's somewhat lighter. The lower beak is usually horn-colored, and the beak warts, yes, are small and have a whitish, powdery look. That gives the bird a well-groomed, tidy impression. The neck is fairly long, and the crop, well, it has that lovely pear shape. At the front, the crop stands out slightly against the chest, while the back of the neck shows a gentle curve. The chest is long, and the breastbone hardly protrudes, which keeps the body line smooth and flowing. The back is a bit broader at the shoulders, then long and gently sloping. The wings are broad and long, lying neatly closed on the tail. And the tail itself? Not too long, not too wide, well closed, and forming a straight line with the back. And importantly, the tail must not touch the ground. The legs are unfeathered and slightly longer than average. They're not set too far apart, which helps the pigeon maintain that elegant stance. The lower legs are well visible and blend smoothly into the body. The thigh feathers lie flat, and the plumage overall is tight and well-fitting. Everything just looks right, nothing messy about it. When it comes to color varieties, there's quite a bit of diversity. You'll find them in black, red, yellow, blue, with or without black bars, ash blue, with or without bars, blue checked, ash red, and ash yellow. So yes, plenty of options for enthusiasts. The colors should be pure and rich in sheen. That's an essential trait of this breed. The underwing color is less important, but the upper wings should be evenly colored. In blue and ash blue varieties, the color should be evenly distributed, with the flight feathers as dark as possible. And in ash-colored birds, the wing shields must be clean, not cloudy or dull. The wing bars should be narrow, continuous, and clearly separated. In checked varieties, the wing pattern should be clear and evenly distributed. Makes sense, right? The pattern of the Essenbach Cropper is truly distinctive. The head plate and wings are colored, while the shoulder area remains white, forming a broad, well-rounded, closed heart shape. The colored head plate runs from the beak corners through or just below the eyes up to the white crest. In pigeons without a crest, the plate is nicely rounded at the back of the head. Really a sight to behold. What are the major faults? Well, quite a few things are considered faults. A body that's too large or too weak, or a flat posture, for example. Also, a crop that's too small or overly inflated. Furthermore, legs that are too short, a stance that's too wide, or thigh feathers that don't lie flat. All are negative points. Stubbles on the shanks or toes? Fault. white feathers among the flight feathers or colored feathers in the white plumage. Also a fault. And yes, dull colors, impure bars, or a poorly defined heart marking, those are serious faults. And if there are colored feathers in the crest, that's undesirable too. So yes, the standards are quite strict. When judging an Essenbach Cropper, attention is primarily given to the bird's overall impression, followed by body shape, crop, posture, color and pattern, and of course, the head and crest. Everything should be in harmony. Let's now talk about the creation of this remarkable breed. It was developed with incredible patience, insight, and passion. The man behind this entire story is Erwin Sedlmeier. Yes, that name might sound familiar, because he's well known for his work with the Brunner Cropper. At some point, Erwin had the idea to create, well, a completely new cropper pigeon. One that would clearly stand out from what already existed. At the same time, the breed had to reflect that typical South German taste for color, pattern, and croppers. So not just any pigeon, but one that truly stands out, one you look at and think, wow, what a bird. It all began when Erwin read an article about Thuringian swallows. It mentioned that the cocks often showed too much blowing. And then, yes, you guessed it, a light bulb went on in his head. He thought, hey, that swallow pattern, with that headplate, could be the perfect starting point for my new breed. And if possible, he also wanted to include that rounded crest with rosettes on both sides. Honestly, that made perfect sense. That's how the idea for the marking pattern of what would later become the Essenbach Cropper was born. Erwin didn't want an overly large cropper, but not a small one either. No, it had to be something in between, a medium-sized cropper. In terms of type, the pigeon could resemble the Vorburg shield cropper a bit, but with a higher stance. So, slightly longer legs, a touch more elegance, a bird that looks proud and slender. That was his goal, his ideal image. To achieve all that, the real work began in 2004. And believe me, it wasn't an easy task. 2 pairs of blue and 2 pairs of black Thuringian swallows were crossed with different cropper breeds, the Vorburg Cropper, the Brunner Cropper, and also the Starwitzer Cropper. In addition, crossings were made between the Vorburg Shield Cropper and the Brunner Cropper, and those offspring were then paired again with Thuringian swallows. Sounds complicated? Yes, it really was. But the first results were, well, to be honest, not great. The young birds were patchy in color, their build and posture weren't quite right, and their inflation ability was, well, poor. They looked more like city pigeons than fancy breed birds. Quite a disappointment, actually. The expectation was that the swallow pattern would be strongly inherited, but that turned out not to be the case. Also, almost all the youngsters had more or less white flight feathers, which is undesirable, so solid-colored Brunners were introduced. The best results eventually came from crosses between Brunners and Vorburgers with Thuringian swallows. The only thing still missing was the white tail color. Later, Brunners were crossed in again, this time with the best-marked birds. And that's when the breed slowly but surely began to take shape. From that point on, Erwin worked with 3 breeding lines. The first focused on the pattern, the second on the balloon, and the third aimed to combine both traits. Clever, right? There was also more focus to increase the blowing. For that, crosses between the Brunner and the Norwich Cropper were used. It really was a matter of continuous trial and selection, always taking one small step closer to the ideal. Later, these different breeding lines were crossed with each other, and then, finally, the first truly good results appeared. The best marked birds were paired with those showing the best blowing. And then again with individuals from the various breeding lines. And in this way, the breed kept improving. And yes, then there was the matter of character, also quite important, right? The first generations were rather shy and difficult to handle in the show pen. Not ideal, since a good cropper must be able to present itself confidently. So, this was worked on too. Year after year, selection was made for calmer, friendlier temperaments. Until the pigeons were not only beautiful but also showed themselves well. That really makes the difference at exhibitions, you know. As you can see, it was a process that took years and involved breeding thousands of birds. Nowadays, you can safely say that the quality of the Essenbach Cropper is quite high. The pigeons have the right build, a fine stance, good balloon, and a pattern that's instantly recognizable. It's a breed developed with immense dedication, and you can truly see that. So, if you ever come across an Essenbach Cropper, remember that behind that elegant appearance lies years of patience, selection, and passion. Well, that's it, the story behind the Essenbach Cropper. Pretty impressive, right? Let me know in the comments what you think of this breed, and whether you've had any experience with croppers yourself. And hey, if you found this interesting, give it a thumbs up and subscribe, so you won't miss the next video.